Yesterday, I had a chance to talk to our good friend Jason Avant. First time in a while he's been on the show. He's just crushing it. You see him on NBC Sports Philadelphia. You can hear him with Quentin Michael on the Q&A podcast as part of the Inside the Birds network, the Empire. Without further ado, 8-year Philadelphia Eagle. I asked Jason Avant, Jason, with all the concerns surrounding the Eagles' passing game, where do you stand on it in general? And where do you stand on it when it comes to Jalen Hurts?
So it has to improve, and it's not all on Jalen. Some things, the Packers game, the receivers didn't uncover well, but part of that is that there's not much variety. And then so you begin to say, okay, Kellen Moore is supposed to be an offensive genius. So why isn't the offense is looking as, precise as it was when Tanner or Kenny Pickett was in there, right? So you're going to think about all those things. And so the Packers understood when Jalen was in there. When you think about it, A.J. Brown catches 3 routes. When you really break it down, he catches a slant route, he catches stop routes, and he catches like a down the field stutter go or fade or something like that. That's pretty much the lion's share of his targets. The lion's share of his targets is stops, slants, whatever. So you don't see him on daggers much. You don't see him on deep crosses and things of that nature. So teams are starting to figure it out and play the Eagles. They were playing the Eagles like they had receivers that was slow as I was, right? 4.46, 40. Right. So the DBs were sitting on everything. And so the guys couldn't uncover that well. Now against the Rams, there was a lot of targets out there. When you really think about it, Jalen went 15 for 20. Devontae had a drop, howbeit it was a penalty. A.J. Brown had a drop on the sideline. He had another drop that he kind of alligator armed the ball. So they catch those passes. It's really 18 for 20 for about 220, 230 yards and a touchdown. So when you really consider Jalen actually threw the ball well, his decision making at times was bad, taking sacks, not seeing guys or checking it down. Like Dallas Goedert's wide open on a check down and play. Second series of the game, there was a 3rd and 6. He ended up taking a sack on when A.J. Brown's man fell down. And Johnny Wilson was the number 1 target in the route, and he was wide open. So those things can be improved by Jalen, but it's not all on Jalen.
All right. Some conversation that started up this year is that people are worried that Jalen would cost them a trip to the Super Bowl or cost them a Super Bowl. Do you have the same concern surrounding the Eagles franchise quarterback?
A trip to the Super Bowl? No. I think the Eagles are a better team than the Commanders, though Jayden Daniels is playing out of his mind. He's a young upstart quarterback, right? So I just think that personnel-wise, the Eagles don't have to deviate in order to beat the Commanders. They don't have to deviate. They don't have to go out and pass the ball. The Commanders are ranked 30th against the rush currently as we speak. Detroit had a field day with running the ball against them, and they just refused to at times. And they wanted to pass the ball, which they shouldn't have, right? So doesn't have to deviate in their game scheme, their run game schemes. The defense coordinator from the Commanders come out and said, we're going to hit them like a running back, basically saying that was their game plan. So you can pretty much imagine that hit that everyone thought was a low and late illegal hit, it probably was a part of their mentality to try to get them out of the game anyway, right? So, but I don't think that the Eagles have to deviate. So I think they can get to the Super Bowl. Now, to win a Super Bowl is way different, because if you get to the Super Bowl, and what I think the team is going to go to the Super Bowl is probably the Chiefs, and most people don't want to hear that. They have over 3 years of coaching experience. You're not going to beat them with a one-trick pony. You're just not. You're not going to do it. Spagnola's been around for 30 years. Andy Reid's been around for 30 plus years, 40 years. And Dave Tove's been around for 30. Like, you can't beat a team like that with one trick. So Jalen is going to have to throw the ball in one of these 2 games, and I think it will be the Super Bowl.
So my question is, does that concern you? Oh, no, now we have to rely on Jalen Hurts. Is that a concern of yours?
It's not a concern, because in order to stop the run, you're going to have to make the back end. You're going to put the back end in a vulnerable situation. And Jalen is better throwing at looks that are not confusing and that it's easy to know what it is. And guess what that has to be? There has to be some form of single high or some form of a vanilla defense in order to stop the run. You can't stop the run and confuse the quarterback. It's just it's too hard. So you're going to have to play man to man at times with a spy or something like that. And I think Jaylen will be able to throw down the field, throw to AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. And the Chiefs are not the Chiefs from yesteryear, or these teams are not the most explosive offenses in the world. So the Eagles defense are going to keep the Eagles in the ball game. So they're going to have a good chance of being able to run the ball and get some big plays and win a 23-24 type of a game.
Look, I know it's not a popular opinion, but the more I went back and watched highlights or all 22 from this game against the Rams, I started to actually feel better about the passing game when I factored in, obviously, the weather, which was a thing for both sides, but not as much for Matthew Stafford, who obviously aired it out. But I think back to, hold on a second, I got a quarterback that ran for a 44-yard touchdown. I got a quarterback that threw a 40-yard bomb down the middle of the field that would have been a completion, but unfortunately Devontae Smith got popped at the exact same time and dropped it. And A.J. Brown bobbles a ball and doesn't get credit for the reception because he landed out of bounds. That, as he even said, 99 times out of 100, he catches. And as you pointed out, that's 230, 240 yards in a snow game that you're leading most of the time. I feel pretty good about the Eagles passing game.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great assessment. And you and I are in the same boat. Now, there are some issues outside of that. This is one game. And I believe that the Rams were definitely vulnerable in passing situations. So Jaylen just has to be more consistent when it comes to decision making. You can't take that many sacks in a game, especially when 4, maybe 5 are on you as the quarterback. And that's the danger of having a quarterback that can move, because you want him to make plays, but at the same time, he doesn't recognize when it's not time to make a play and it's just time to play the game on schedule and throw the ball, check it down.
All right. Now, you found yourself in a couple of situations throughout your career where you had to obviously block for a quarterback or you had to block for a running back. When you hear a defensive coordinator say, oh, we're going to hit the quarterback like a running back, like they're really trying to make a statement as a DC, what goes through your mind if you got a block on any one of these plays?
Well, here's the thing. That's bulletin board material. First of all, you think you're going to intimidate the Eagles? Your defensive line has been getting their entire year, right? Your old linebacker in Wagner hadn't been able to get to the flats the way that he used to be able to get to the flats. And then we have the league's leading rusher. Okay, you want to do that? Okay, let's see you do it. And I think that's the Eagles' mentality. So everybody on that team, including the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, the coaches, took that very disrespectfully. And I'm sure the Eagles are going to run the hell out of the ball and prove a point. And I think this is the last team that you want to talk crap to, especially when it comes to being a physical football team. We're a more physical football team than the Commanders are, even though they knocked Jaylen out of the game last time with a very questionable, hit. So you get in a war of just let's see who's the toughest with this team. It's just that they're not that group. So what it lets me know is that first, the Commanders hadn't been there before. 1, because your coaches got to know when to shut the hell up, and 2, they're trying to pump themselves up. That's how you know that what they really believe on inside, because when you start speaking, kind of lets you know that they are not that confident.
Mm-hmm. If Kellen Moore called you or Nick Sirianni called you and they just said, hey, Jason, we're struggling with originality, being less predictable in this offense, what would you tell them? What do you think this Eagles offense could do that would help move the ball downfield?
Well, it's tough.
Other than just hand it to Saquon.
Tough because I'm not in the position of knowing what the quarterback can handle. That's the thing that we don't know. Like, we don't know what the quarterbacks feel that he can handle or what the quarterback likes. I know that Kellen Moore historically has been an under-centered offensive coordinator because you can get to Moore, and that marries well with play action. It marries well with the run game. You're turning your back toward the defense. It causes the linebackers to move up. So I know that they want to do that, and apparently Jaylen is not as comfortable with that because they do less of that when he's in there than when Tanner McKee's in there. But one thing that I would try my best to do is move AJ around and not have him on the outside all the time. Let's put him in the slot. Let's put him in motion. Let's be able to create some matchups where he's not as predictable going down the field. And also against the Commanders, a Bennett he can't cover. Number one, their nickel cannot cover. And so Devontae, whoever that is, that dude has been getting beat the entire season. So he's a guy that we should attack. So that's what I would basically call my offense through. But again, can Jaylen handle that? There's more people over the middle of the field. Will I be able to get to the middle of the field if he doesn't see in the middle of the field because of the height of the offensive line? So me is move A.J. Brown around a bunch. Try my best to throw deep crosses, try my best to throw things that we are not used to running, corner stops, corner routes. We do run some shallow crosses, but daggers, things like that are in breaking, just like the Rams did to us. They killed us with in breaking routes, and we're going to see that for the Commanders against our defense.
When you look at the Commanders in general, what jumps out to you and it makes you say, this is what the Eagles have to be most careful of going up against this Washington team?
It's the quarterback, and it's the quarterback and his his ability to be a dual threat and not being able to. You can't just play normal defense. You got to have a system of rushing and containing the quarterback. You have to be able to play coy with the nickel or the outside linebacker because they like to use wide formations and alignments where the receivers are almost at the numbers or past them. So if you stack the box, now you have a 3-on-1, and then Terry McLaurin took that one to the house because the guy is out of position, the third guy. So you have to be able to walk him out there, but cheat him back in. So there's a lot of nuance that comes along with playing them. You're also worrying about his ability to break tackles and make guys miss, because that's the difference in the ball game. The first game against the Commanders in the second game is that we couldn't tackle Jayden Daniels at times. We just couldn't tackle him. And so our guys are going to be able to have to tackle in space. I think we can hold up outside. And another thing, too, is that second game, we blew 4 coverages in that game. 3 of them ended up in a touchdown. Just flat out blew the coverage. Right? Flat out, guy not on the field one time. Darius Slay runs out of zone 4, cover 4, into my man-to-man principles. The kid scores a touchdown behind him. Crowder dupes Garner Johnson up the seam. That's 3 right there. And then the one on Quinyon, where there's no way that should happen. You're in the deep side of the field with him, so your feet shouldn't stop. So when you think about it, the Eagles are not going to play that poorly again. I just don't see that happening. Now, tackling is the biggest thing. Can we tackle Jayden Daniels when he runs? That's the biggest thing. The first game, Nakobe Dean was able to get him on the ground in multiple one-on-one situations. The past game that we played against them, none of our guys were able to get him on the ground.
When you see, I know we just talked about a struggle that Quinyon Mitchell had, but Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell this season, from a wide receiver's perspective, what impresses you about those two young, one corner, and then Vic Fangio insists he's a nickel, he's not a corner, he's a nickel. What impressed you about those two defensive backs?
Let's start with Quinyon. Quinyon is a competitor, and I respect that. I respect guys that are willing to walk up and play press, even if it's zone. I respect that because they think that, okay, I'm faster than everyone. I'm just as quick as anybody. Nobody can get open on me. So that's the mentality. That's the thing that you like about Quinyon, is that he competes and he's willing to step up to the plate each and every time. And he's excellent at coverage, right? Excellent at man-to-man coverage. And when you're excellent at man-to-man coverage, sometimes you don't get picks. The guys that get picks are guys that sit and watch the quarterback's eyes, and that's just the truth. A lot of guys, Deion Sanders don't have a lot of picks, but Asante Samuel has a lot of picks, right? So both probably deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but it's just cutting it a little bit different, you know? So Quinyon is a guy that can cover anyone, still learning the game, still has a lot to grow. I like Cooper DeJean because Cooper is a master at zone. Master at zone coverage. When I say master, day one coming in. You know why? It's the only thing they play at Iowa. The only thing they play at Iowa is cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, cover 3. That's the only thing they play. So he understands where the defense is weak. Every zone has a weakness in it. And it's up for smart players to recognize route concepts and then make up for the weakness in the way that you play. There's multiple times where he is finding work in somebody else's zone when his responsibility is taken care of. That's just veteran play when it comes to zone. It's going to take him a little time to be able to cover anybody in the slot. He needs a certain matchup. Certain guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown or a shifty guy like that will be tough for him. But he competes, puts his hands on you, and he's a great athlete. He's only going to get better. So I think they're two of the shining spots in the league. The thing that we have to get back to is that when Cooper was first implemented as the nickel, he was blitzing a lot more. We've been reluctant to send him the last 4 or 5 games for some reason. So I don't know why, but we need to add that back in the game plan.
I'd love to see it. Last one for you. Is it too bold to ask for a prediction now? Ooh. Eagles, Commanders, who you got?
I got the Birds. Score, don't necessarily know the score, but I think the score is going to be over a 7-point win. I don't know.
Jason Avant's telling us to hit the Eagles. I love it. Yep. Jason, always great catching up with you, man. Thank you so much. Good luck in the rest of the competition. I know you're a fantastic dancer. I know you're gonna do a phenomenal job the rest of the way, friend.
Yeah, got a first place and a second place so far, and now we got harder competition tomorrow, so it'll be tough.
Congratulations on the first place, and I don't even see the other people, but I know you were robbed with that second place. I know you should have been first. Jason Avant, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys are checking out Q&A podcast, him and Quentin Michael, of course, former Eagles safety. You guys can check that out on the Inside the Birds radio empire. So make sure you guys check that out. And, of course, on NBC Sports Philadelphia as well. Jason, again, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Take it easy, buddy.